Oh my God, we got it up. We got it going. Okay, we're good. We're good. Everything's working now. Everything's working now.
Yeah, I was looking over because I was like, well, okay, YouTube, where's that at? I had to like restart. Anyway, it's cool, but I'm good now. Everybody's up and we're good.
Yeah.
Hello.
No, Mondays are hard like that, right? Coming in on Mondays, you got to go back and reset everything, make sure everything's good to go, and do what you do. Appreciate that. How was your ride in today?
Not bad. There was really, not too much traffic at all. I guess, because people extended their weekend and going on trips and things like that. So really not too bad. The weather isn't too bad either. It's a little cloudy, so I'm not sure if we're expecting to get rainstorms or anything like that today. I didn't check that far in advance, but as far as right now, though, it feels pretty decent out and no rain yet. So
Awesome.
pretty good.
Awesome. Let me ask, I never asked you this question. How was your weekend?
My weekend. Okay, what did I do? Oh, I got my car serviced. Yeah, so
Oh,
there was
real exciting
that.
stuff there. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were trying to, get me for, more parts and stuff like that. And I was like, well, how much is that going to be? They're like, oh, $400. I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that today. But thank you. Just
Oh,
change my
wow.
oil and give me some new filters and I'm good. So yeah, they were trying to get me for more money, but I was firm. And
You were firm in that you
yes.
were not spending that money today.
Not today, but next time. I like to take care of my car, so.
I
But
understand
it
that.
just was not on Saturday. I wasn't doing that, so that was all I did. Nothing too fancy on my end. But how was your weekend?
Let me see. Uh, it was busy. The last few days have just been very busy. I've been moving stuff around and trying to get stuff together, so it's been a very busy season. And I am Power actually had been on a 3 week break, the whole organization, and today everybody's coming back except me. I I have one more week. I got some stuff I got to do, so I will be back next Monday to Power. I came back to the station last week, but I actually in total took 4 weeks off so I could try to get some things together and make some moves and do some things. So yeah, so it's just been a busy weekend. I took my daughter to college last week. My youngest started at Howard University, so I'm very excited about that. And she's starting a new career, and I think some of you have heard like she graduated high school a year early, so she's a little young. So we're just she's very bright, very smart, very savvy. But as parents, you just worry. So, but yeah, that's what I did. That's what I did. What about you, Tawanda?
The weekend didn't have a whole lot going on because I knew I'd be coming back to work on Monday. So I had to, start scaling down and focusing to come back to work. But I thought about you, Kawesa, because I was in New Jersey a couple of days last week and I had to get gas. And I pulled up to the pump and because I knew this was a thing, so I pulled up to the pump, and the attendant walks over to the window, and I said, "I'm from Pennsylvania," and he said, I see that, I guess, because of my tag, and I said, okay, so I like, do I get out? Do I give you my car? Like, I don't know how this works. Like, can I go in the Wawa and get something, or do I have to stay in my car? I don't know. I need help. So he like gave me this whole, instruction on, yeah, so in New Jersey, it's a self-service state. It's actually illegal for you to pump your own gas. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. I just need like the logistical breakdown. Like, so he said, I'll take your card and, pay. And then if you want to go in the Wawa, you can do that. And then so all of that was fine. Then I came out to the car, got in the car and started driving away. I'm like, I got a parking ticket while I was at the Wawa. That was actually the receipt from the gas on my
Oh.
windshield. So uh, I know how to do it now. I think I'll be okay getting gas in New Jersey in the future, but it's definitely a different experience.
Wow. Wow, that's all I can say. At Coesa, I do appreciate that about New Jersey. They pump your gas for you, and it's cheaper than Pennsylvania's gas.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
I always I'm like, yeah, I don't have to get out of the car. I don't have to do anything. Now, let me ask you. I'm gonna ask you both this question. Do you tip or don't tip?
I mean, I don't tip because they're getting paid, so I don't tip. I don't think anybody in New Jersey tips. I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen any of my family give tips. I can't say that no one in New Jersey does that, but I will say though that a lot of out of staters will tip the attendant, and we don't. Most of us don't do that.
I would have tipped if I was paying cash. I think if I was doing, but I used my card and then he was gone and my receipt, like I said, was on my windshield. So I didn't like there wasn't a place for me to put the tip in and sign my name, or else, yeah, just nope.
I always tip.
That's so nice.
That's
I do.
really sweet. Yeah.
I do. Let me ask the listeners out there. Listen, for y'all that are checking us out on Twitch or Facebook or YouTube, uh, when you go to Jersey to get gas, do you tip or don't tip? Just curious. Just curious. Just a fun way to start the week. Uh, do you tip or you don't tip? That's what we want to know this morning. I tipped. Yeah, Catfish Hillbilly says I tipped the dude once and he looked pretty surprised. Yeah, I mean, it's a couple dollars just to say, hey, you're out here in the weather, you're doing all this other stuff, and trying to do that. Renee Mills says, do they still wash your windows? If so, he needs a tip. Wow.
Yeah.
Bernita Francine says, wow, Bishop, I never thought that tipping them. Yeah. Bernita said, nope, but I will now. Edminer said, nope, no tip. If there's one busy attendant, I will tip a few. Okay, yeah. That's from Gary Bryant, Senior. Let's see here. Will Mega says, no tip for gas. Hashtag reparations now. All right. Deborah Lyerly Robinson, don't tip. Didn't know you were supposed to. April Wellborn says, never thought of tipping for having my gas pump. Good point. Robert Garland says, I don't carry paper money. I hear you. A lot of people do. Francis Williams Johnson says, yes, I do tip. Thank you for that, Francis. It's just, it's a service thing. I mean, it's actually kind of weird because, you go in all these stores now and they have all these tip jars out there, which they didn't used to have years ago. They used to, you go in a fast food restaurant or go in, place to do self-service or pickup, and they never had a tip jar. And now every time you go someplace, Dunkin' Donuts got a tip jar. I'm like, when did we start doing this? But I also recognize too, this is the social justice warrior in me, that we haven't had a significant wage increase in a very long time, and the tipped wage in Pennsylvania is $2.35 an hour, whether people realize that or not. And a lot of people that work in the service positions are actually getting something between the minimum wage, which is $7.25, and the tip wage, which is $2.35. And so they survive off those tips. It's just like during COVID, I've been very big on tipping. Whether it's Uber driver or whether it's, DoorDash, or whether it's, even if I'm going to pick up the food at a restaurant or whatever, I make sure I tip those workers, right? Because it's been a hard season, and they're really living off that. So, I try to make sure that, I'm taking care of folk and doing the right thing because, first of all, karma, what goes around comes around. But also at the same time, trying to help churn the economy and help people do what they have to do. So that is how I can take a very fun conversation and make it about, politics. But
I actually, when I started doing the pickup, like the grocery pickup and the Walmart pickup and all of that about a year ago, I've done that quite a bit, and I was tipping until a Target employee told me that they weren't allowed to accept tips. And I was like,
all right.
Wow, that's interesting, because I don't know that they're paying you enough to not take tips. If you're coming out, in the height of a pandemic, in the rain, in all of these conditions, for them to tell you that you can't take tips, I took a little issue with that.
That's interesting. I mean, yeah. I mean, I had a tech come to the house and a cable person, and I gave him like $20 tip, just for installing stuff. So, he was like, "Oh, no, 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 no." He took that $20 though afterwards. He was like, "Oh, thank you so much." I'm
Oh,
like,
no,
"Hey,
no,
get a
no, no,
beer or something like that.
thanks.
Do whatever you're going to do on that." So yeah, this is actually really interesting. Will, I see your question there. Will said, "What if educators put tip jars on our desk?" And I'm like, I remember back in the day. So this was when I was real young, real young. That used to bring in apples for the teacher. Do you remember that?
No, that
You,
was
it
my
used to be a
time.
stereotype that a teacher always had an apple on the desk. And so, I mean, and actually in some schools, they actually do. I mean, I don't know what school you're teaching at, but, in some schools, like the parents' organizations get together and get gifts and, gift cards and things like that for teachers, like, during the holidays or end of school year, stuff like that. So, not to say that that's, it's a token of appreciation as much unless a tip at that point. The thing about tipping is that tipping is actually a major part of the income of the individual that's providing a service. So, and Will, to be honest with you, teachers don't get paid enough. That's always been my opinion. So just so you know that they're educating the minds of our young, and they should be amongst the most well paid that are out there. That's my opinion. I don't know. What do you think, Tawana?
Well, if you put a tip jar on the desk, like kids don't have no money. So, like, how would that work? Would you put it on the desk during parent teacher conferences, or at a time when parents are going to be coming into the school? Because kids aren't routinely just showing up with extra cash, like, "Oh, that was a great math test. Thank you." Um,
I mean, yeah, it's not that. I think it's just the issue of service and providing for our children, things like that. I get you though. I get you though, because it could lead to all kinds of bribery and scandal and stuff like that. Not that I think teachers would ever want to do that, but
mm-mm.
uh, you know. But anyway, I got it. Sandra Field says I tip all but gas attendants. Yeah, Catfish Hillbilly says I remember getting a gift from my teacher for the holiday when I was super young. Yeah, I remember that too. I remember that as well. And Bernita Francine asked the question, who did you tip last? Who did I tip last? I think it was the Uber driver yesterday. So that was the last person I tipped. So, yep. Yeah. All right. So we are actually up on our first break, and we're going to continue this conversation. There's actually a lot to talk about today. Issues in Afghanistan. There's issues happening at the federal level of the government, things happening here in Philadelphia. So we'll be back to talk about all those things. You're listening to WURD Radio, Progressive Black Talk Media. This is the Power Hour with Dwayne Royster and special guest co-host Tawanda Starworth. We'll be right back.
A Night of Passion makes a married doctor question his assumptions about love, lust, and monogamy. In The Marriage Pass, a tale of domestic suspense from Brianna Cole, smart, sexy, and filled with drama. The Marriage Pass explores the boundaries of a relationship by taking the what if of a free pass. One partner's consequence-free night with their greatest temptation to a new level. Pick up your copy of The Marriage Pass by Brianna Cole today, everywhere where books are sold. And for more information, visit BriannaCole.com. That's BriannaCole.com.
Jefferson Health offers no-cost COVID-19 testing sites at St. Raymond of Pinafort Church. Testing is on Thursdays and Saturdays. A second testing location has been added at Richard Allen Preparatory Charter School. Testing is on Wednesdays and Fridays. For testing hours and more information, visit jeffersonhealth.org/community testing.
Family Therapy Vignette Moments with Dr. Lucille Ijoy.
Don't hit your children. Don't spank them, smack them, snatch them. Don't sock them. It causes violence in the world. It pushes love out. Some people think that the child will still love them. Well, maybe they will and maybe they won't. What about the children who hit and whack? And then they're going to teach the precious generation. Don't hit my grandchild. Isn't that curious? They don't want you to hit the grandchild. I tell you, I have lost many friends about this philosophy, but I gained some friends too. I have written several books on this topic about hitting children. In fact, it is my mission statement for life. That's my mission statement. Don't hit your children. It causes violence in the world. It makes them angry. Don't hit your children. It causes violence in the world. Don't hit your children. It causes violence in the world.
What grows in the forest? Trees? Sure. Know what else grows in the forest? Our imagination, our sense of wonder, and our family bonds grow too. Because when we disconnect from this and connect with this, we reconnect with each other and build family memories we will carry with us forever. The forest is closer than you think. Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. It's easy. Just put in your zip code to find family-friendly outdoor destinations near you. You'll also find guides to free activities, games, and amazing forest facts. Give the magic of the outdoors to your kids and reconnect with your family. Find a forest near you at discovertheforest.org. That's discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to WURD Radio, progressive black talk media. Join WURD for the Summer of Freedom Neighborhood Love Tour. This year we celebrate West Oak Lane, Mantua, Northwest, and South Philly. Tiffany Bacon will broadcast live from a different location each Friday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Our next stop is West Oak Lane at the West Oak Lane Senior Center, 7210 Ogons Avenue. That's 7210 Ogons Avenue. Win concert tickets, meet special guests, and stand with WURD. Be a part of the movement to amplify the voice of the black community. Show your support and join or renew your 4WURD membership on site. That's the Summer of Freedom Neighborhood Love Tour at West Oak Lane Senior Center from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, Friday, August 20th. So make sure you check out our colleague, Tiffany Bacon, on Friday at 10 a.m. to 12 noon at the West Oak Lane Senior Center, 7210 Ogons Avenue. And come on out and meet some of the other WURD personalities and get to know folk and hang out with them. All right. That's that. You can check in with that. That sounds like really good. It sounds like it's been going very wonderful so far. One of these days, I'm actually going to try to get out to one of those Fridays and just be like, hey, what's going on, y'all? People can actually see what I look like other than like the box, or hear what I sound like. Although the funniest thing that's ever happened to me is that I was on an Amtrak train coming from D.C. to Philadelphia, and while I was on the train, a woman walks up to me, and she says, are you on the radio, sir? And I said, yes, I am, as a matter of fact. She's like, yes, I listen to you in the morning. I know that voice. I don't know what you look like, but I knew the voice. I knew the voice, which I was like, I didn't think my voice was that distinct, but maybe it is. Maybe it is.
They probably say, wow, he's tall.
They probably like, that's a big dude. That's a big dude. That was the fun I had moving my daughter into school. People just got out of the way. They were like, that's a big dude. So, and just a major shout out to my wife who demonstrated her Philadelphia driving skills at Howard University on the other day. So she managed to like cut through traffic, cut a U-turn in the middle of the street, park smack in front of the dorm, which was not supposed to happen. And so we could quickly offload my daughter's stuff and get her into her dorm. So that was actually pretty funny. So yeah, she was working it, and I was like, oh, that's Philly driving skills. This other woman was looking at her like the window, getting ready to cuss her out. And I was like, yeah, the first lady done something. But anyway, we got her in. All right. So wait a minute, you were while we were on the break, you were processing who the last person was you tipped.
Yes, it took me a while to remember, but it was the pizza driver last night.
The pizza driver last night. Okay, so
Yeah,
you were actually able to go and tip the pizza driver.
I did. Yeah.
Right.
But I
Right.
do have trouble with tipping prior, like when I place the order on the app, like I'm tipping for the delivery, but the delivery actually hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, that gets me because yeah, a couple of the apps require you to do that or ask you to do that. And I always wonder, like, does it actually get there faster if you do that, or don't do that? Or, I mean, I think probably what happened is that originally when they first started putting that on the app, because originally you couldn't do it except for I forgot the name of the not the Uber, the other one. But why can't I think of the name of the company? Oh, anyway, it doesn't make a difference. Um, but now they ask you up front. And I think it's because a lot of people weren't doing it
Mhm.
because they asked you after the fact. And I know me, like
Yeah.
sometimes you ask you to rate the ride. I was like, oh, I forgot like 3, 4 days. Um, you know, and so then later on, I would go back and have to rate it or do whatever. So anyway,
The last Uber that I took, actually, it might have been Lyft. Uh, I
I believe
didn't
it's at
rate.
Lyft, yeah. Hmm.
I didn't rate and I didn't tip because it was in Myrtle Beach and Elsa was hitting us at the time that I was in Myrtle Beach, and I was actually in North Myrtle Beach, which was incorporated in 1968. So there's lines to be read in there. And the driver informed me of those lines and said that North Myrtle Beach isn't as hoodie as Myrtle Beach is. And I thought, it's pounding rain, it's a torrential downpour, we're in the middle of a hurricane. I'm relying on this man to get me to the airport. Is now the time that that I should have a conversation about what he said? So
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I just said, huh. And in my mind, I'm like, don't rate him, don't tip him, just get to the airport and get this part of your life over with. Get this experience over. But yeah, I didn't rate or tip him.
Yeah, no, don't have that conversation right there. That was just not. First of all, it wasn't going to go well.
No,
Second of all,
it got
yeah,
real quiet though after that. Like I think,
I think you realize, yeah, that was really probably not the appropriate conversation to have. Appropriate conversation to have. Nikki or Tim says I tipped for my takeout order, the last takeout order they had. So anyway, yeah, I mean, so much more to unpack with tipping, but there's a lot of other things going on. So many of you might have heard by now and been watching on the news. If you checked out the news earlier last night or early this morning, you know that Afghanistan has fallen, and it is now in the hands of the Taliban. The president of the country left the people. And basically said, this for the best of the country, that if I leave, it'll be less bloodshed. There were pictures that some of the other news media companies were showing of the Taliban inside the presidential palace. A lot of critique of the fact that the president left the country, abandoned the people. And it's just an overall really sad situation when you think about the money that's spent, the lives that were lost, in the fact that we took the country from the Taliban after 9/11, and now 20 years later, it's back in the hands of the Taliban again. Deeply troubling, deeply disturbing. When you just think about the impact and what this has meant to um, what this means to the people that are there, to the families that have lost lives over here, or lost loved ones in the military contractors. Just a really sad day. Just a really sad day all the way around.
Yeah, I have a personal connection. My brother is retired military, retired Army, and he went over to Afghanistan in '04 or '05 as part of this conflict. And I can remember the toll. I mean, he had already been in conflict before, so it wasn't his first time. He was an officer. He's a lieutenant colonel, so it's not like he's on the front lines, but it's still this pull on the family that you're terrified, and not everyone made it home, and to feel for there to be a possibility of the feeling that it's all for naught, right? That the sacrifice was somehow lost is painful enough. It's just pain on top of pain. And we've talked about it before, that a large percentage of those on the front lines are Black and brown folks who join the military because they need a way out of their community, or need another opportunity to learn a trade, or to do something different. So I think it's just, being aware of the layers of trauma, again, that happen in our communities, that this is just another layer of that thought. And globally, understanding Afghanistan as a brown country, and what does that mean for us on this side of the ocean? And there's a lot. There's just so many different layers. There's we shouldn't have been over there in the first place. Well, we were, and people lost their lives, and we always want the better outcome in every situation. And I think this shows me that, unfortunately, sometimes that's just not going to happen. This doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's devastating. This is also a little bit of America trying to play super cop everywhere, right? I mean, a lot of this happened because the Taliban at the time were hiding Al-Qaeda cells within their mountains. And then we attacked Afghanistan for the purposes of trying to, find Osama bin Laden and others that took, place in the 9/11 attacks on the United States. But, how many lives, I keep going back to the lives that have been lost, right? And the fact that we spent billions of dollars, right? So here is the other thing. How long did we know that this country was not going to be able to maintain itself? We're supposedly have one of the strongest militaries in the world, best trained, best equipped. We were basically giving the Afghani army. We were paying them. We were training them. We were developing them. We were providing weapons for them. We were providing training for them. And they just basically walked away, just gave it up. Now, Barack Obama tried to get us out of Afghanistan, had to slow down because I think he saw what was going on there. Donald Trump negotiated the agreement that President Biden followed through on, which is pulling the troops out. And, the agreement was negotiated with the Taliban and the Afghani government. Matter of fact, former Afghanistan President Karzai was a part of those negotiations to make that happen. And yet the country falls in the way that it did. I mean, no resistance, minimal fighting at best. I mean, it was a bloodless coup for all intents and purposes. So, yeah, that's like, what does that mean? Were they just taking the money and just not caring about the country? I mean, this is the question I have. And maybe there are folk out there that are, foreign policy experts, or, have folk that are Afghanistani and live on the ground somewhere. But I'm like, did they just take the money and run? Because that's really what's crossing my mind.
Well, I think at one point there was a thought that this would be like a permanent occupation. So that, I think maybe the strategy was that we were setting up to be there permanently, but not, to still, withdraw some of our involvement or our influence, but still be a presence. And if that was a strategy, then it would stand to reason that they, would take the money, they're taking the training, because there's really no plan for them to be entirely on their own. I think maybe when that became the plan, when that became the idea that all of our troops would withdraw, that we've probably already set up a system of dependence. So how do you, just all of a sudden you're 18, now you got to get out, and you're cut off. You're not getting anything from us. And I think that we maybe didn't set the groundwork for that because of a change in strategy. I don't play Army strategist or military foreign policy strategist type of person. But I do think that there's, some truth to that we went into Afghanistan, like you said, as a result of 9/11, which was an emotional reaction. It wasn't necessarily a thought out response. I think we know that now. And when you do things like that, when those plans aren't thoroughly thought through, now you have to put the foundation under it as you're building it, right? So you're building it as you're flying it. And I think in doing that, you have to be really strategic in what the end of that looks like.
Right. No, I agree. I just can't imagine in 20 years they hadn't planned that out. That's why I keep saying it's like they just took the billions of dollars and it's probably trillions of dollars when you really add it all up with the military personnel, machinery, things that we had on the ground, plus the money that we were pumping into the Afghan economy. And I'm just like, you just feel like you just took the money and ran. Like, I'm going to milk this as long as I can and then go from there. And this is not everybody's opinion. This is Dwayne Royce's opinion. I just want to be very clear about that. But I have a lot of questions. I'm like, did nobody see this? One of the news articles I was reading said that the Afghani soldiers were like taking off their uniforms and putting on Taliban outfits, as a Taliban. And I was like, what? Deeply disturbing to me all the way around. I'm struggling with that.
But you know what? It has to be complicated for them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's just complicate. I mean, we can say complicated, right? And then realize what the last 8 years or thank you, Jesus, the last 4 years of our life was like, and understand what what a country in turmoil and conflict and on the verge of collapse really looks like. Like we had January 6th, so now we can understand what complicated looks like, or what that we felt that a little bit more on our own soil. So, yeah.
What's interesting about this, a Catfish Hillbilly just said, corruption, not understanding the real situation, American hubris, the detour of Iraq, outright lying for decades, what's changed since Vietnam. And I think that's interesting because a lot of people are blaming blaming Biden for this. And I'm like, Biden was just like, I'm getting us out of this mess. Mm-hmm. And I don't fault him for this. I fault, George W. Bush for this, for getting us in there in the first place and for not really handling business the way we needed to. And then Barack Obama saw once we were in there, he just couldn't pull out. The country would just collapse, even after we got Osama bin Laden. And that was in Pakistan. So, I don't know. It's just a very difficult situation all the way around. I mean, certainly we could probably have conversation and debrief this for the next couple of years. People will be writing their PhD dissertations around this, trying to figure out. It is America's longest war. It was 20 years. 20 years. So absolutely very difficult. All right, folks, well, this is what we're going to do. We have a couple other things to talk about in the next segment, but I'm also going to open up the phone lines for you all to give a call in. If you would like to, please be kind and gentle. It is early in the morning. 215-634-8065. Again, 215-634-8065. You can give us a call and be in dialogue with myself and Twanda Stallworth. This morning, you are listening to the Power Hour on WURD Radio, Progressive Black Talk Media. We'll be right back.
Enterprise Exterminators, located at 4943 Wayne Avenue, has been in business since 1976 and can eliminate whatever pest problems you have. Enterprise specializes in bed bugs, lanternflies, and termites. Call for your free termite inspection today. Do-it-yourself kits are available. Enterprise Exterminators, servicing Philadelphia, Delaware, and New Jersey. Call now, 215-849-7070. Ask us about the WURD and senior discounts. Hey there, beautiful. Have you had severe hair loss? Do you have a scalp disorder? Is your hair thinning around the edges and crown? If you answered yes to any of these questions, give us a call at 215-225-2442 to schedule a consultation with Babe's Holistic Hair Salon located at 3117 North Broad Street. Babe's Holistic Hair Salon is dedicated to improving your inner and outer beauty. This ad is brought to you by the North Broad Renaissance and Truist Foundation.
Morning, Mama. How you feeling?
Great, and I'm ready for you today.
I'm checking in on you. Morning meditation?
Check.
Dressed and ready to work out?
Check.
Check your blood pressure yet?
And check.
Boom! Great job, Mom. And about those gold earrings?
No, ma'am.
Now more than ever, it's important that we protect our hearts and the hearts of those we love. Monitor your blood pressure daily and help each other stay motivated. Rally your squad to take the online pledge at releasethepressure.org. Brought to you by the Release the Pressure Coalition and the Ad Council.
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
This report sponsored by Smart Mouth, the only 24-hour mouthwash with twice a daily use. Pretty good ride still here in Philadelphia, 95 southbound, building of the Cotman down to Bridgeton, Allegheny through Girard, northbound side, moving fine still this morning. The Vine Expressway, westbound Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway, a bit slow. Schuylkill itself both ways, really not too bad still this morning. Same thing on the PA Turnpike and the Blue Ridge 476, no major issues there as of yet. 55 northbound, some slowing north of Deptford into 42. Big interview. You check your suit, your resume, your palms, but did you check your breath? Get Smart Mouth, the only mouthwash that provides 24 hours of fresh breath with just 2 rinses a day. Find Smart Mouth on the mouthwash aisle at CVS or get 20% off at smartmouth.com/radio. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bogman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with special guest co-host Tawanda Stallworth. We have been talking about tipping this morning, and then we spent some time talking about Afghanistan. We have opened up the phone line, so if you want to give us a call and be a part of the conversation, feel free to do so, 215-634-8065. That's 215-634-8065. And we already have a caller on the line. We have Maurice from Southwest Philly. Good morning, Maurice. How are you today? Thanks for calling in.
I want to tell you, I really missed you. And Ms. Starworth, thank you that you came in early this morning to grace us with your appearance. But let's talk about, you just got finished talking about the war, which I really want to talk about. It was based on a lie. They went to the wrong country to fight, and we're still playing this game. The only one that made out in this war were the contractors. You put them in there as somebody feels sorry for, but no, they made plenty of money off this war. It made everybody rich, and the poor, the black and Latino get to die for it. But the main reason I called you is while you were gone, you come back and you would think the city would have a plan for the violence. They still don't have a plan. The mayor was on Inside Story. He had no plan. And the only thing he said was gentrification is the word. He wants the blacks out and the people from Washington and New York in. And it's going to keep going until we move. And I'll close with that.
Thanks, Maurice. Yeah, I mean, violence is a major issue here in Philadelphia. And the problem is, and I know I sound like a broken record, is that to prevent the violence, we need to start it 10 years ago addressing the issue of poverty. If you look at the numbers where the violence is happening in Philadelphia, it's homelessness, underhoused people, you have lack of quality education in those communities, you don't have an economic infrastructure, people are hopeless, and it is just weighing people down that there's high levels of violence happening right now on top of a pandemic. The pandemic drove it up. This is not unique to Philadelphia. I know people are like, oh my God, Philadelphia, this is happening all across the country in the exact same type neighborhoods. And so, I think there are a lot of people that are jumping up and have a lot of different ideas about what ending gun violence looks like. I totally agree. You have to do all those things. But gun violence is a symptom of a bigger disease, and the bigger disease is called poverty and racism and oppression. And this is what manifests itself in a cauldron when you have lack of healthcare services, lack of housing, lack of education, lack of economic opportunity, and you have pervasive hopelessness. This is what you get. And to be able to address it, it's going to take time. The gun violence numbers dropped years ago slowly over several years. And until you're addressing all of those issues and putting together a comprehensive plan to address that, and I mean, I appreciate counsel. Everybody's trying to do everything that they can right now. A lot of our community groups are doing everything they can, but you're not getting at the disease. You have to clean out the pus out of the wound, and you got to tend to the wound so that the wound can heal appropriately, and then we'll see that. So, I mean, I got plenty of ideas about this. But I think first things first, folks have to understand what the root cause is. The root cause of this is poverty and racism, and then we can begin to address it from there. I don't know if you have comments on that, Tawanda.
Well, I like that image of cleaning the pus out of a wound. A lot of times we don't recognize that there's a pain that's associated with healing, right? And that in order for things to come together, if you use, something to clean the wound, right? There's some pain in that, but the long-term benefit outweighs that short-term painful period. And I think that that's, a sacrifice or a deal that few politicians and policymakers want to make, right? They don't want to inflict that sort of pain on their own ideology or on their own pockets, their own supporters. They don't want to, take that heat, whether it's going to be for 6 months or a year, to have sustained growth and opportunity for their constituencies. So electing folk who either don't have those allegiances or can understand that there's a systemic problem that needs, a short-term sacrifice, then unfortunately, I don't see how that changes.
I got you. Let's go to Brother Joe in Germantown. Brother Joe, welcome to Power Hour.
Good morning, Bishop Worster, and to your distinguished guest, Ms. Starworth. How y'all doing this morning?
Good. How are you, brother?
I'm doing fine. All praises be to Allah. Let me say this before I talk about Afghanistan. Bishop Royster, you and Ms. Starworth is right on point, because, it always amazed me when I heard white folks, even some of us, when you look at like you said, the violence in the black community. And I'm not condoning no crime, but you look at it from a total perspective, historical perspective. It's nothing unique to black people. You go back to the day, and I even heard white people that's honest say this. We look at Bonnie and Clyde, Pretty Boy Floyd, Babyface Nelson. These was poor white folks that was committing crimes for the most part because they were shut out by rich white people out the American mainstream. That's why a lot of these poor white people resorted to crime, because they was shut out by other white people, and they resorted to crime. They was doing everything they can to survive. So my point, Bishop, was to you and Mr. Starr, it's nothing unique to black people. You do, like you said, we don't address the poverty issue and you let it spiral out of control. This is what you want to have. I mean, it's just common sense, man. It was no different with white people back then, and it's no different with black people now, And like you said, like you said, Bishop, you got to clean that pus out the wound and stop dealing with the symptoms and eradicate the problem. Then you'll see the big drop in crime. But until you do that, you're just playing games, man. You're just playing games. But let me say this real quick on Afghanistan. Like Brother Marie said before me, again, it amazes me how the white media and even how some of our black elected, they don't have the guts to tell the truth. If the so-called attack, and I use the word so-called because I don't trust this white man for nothing he says, but if you want to go by even his thing, that the so-called attackers of 9/11, and I talked to Brother Dick Gregory, God rest his soul, and I'm with Brother Dick. I don't trust nothing they say. But you go by 9/11, if the so-called attackers, 15 of the 19 people came from Saudi Arabia, then why the hell did you go into Afghanistan for? Why did you even attack that country in any way? So my point, Bishop Royce and Ms. Starworth, is that because the United States, the Bush family, and in fact, most of these white men, like Marisa, the contractors, they have oil ties with the corrupt Saudi Arabia regime and stuff like that. And they said Bin Laden's family, that numbers was flown out of here by Bush and them after 9/11 happened. So you look at all these things and stuff in kind of connection with Prescott Bush. That's George Bush's grandfather. See, this is to the average person, Ms. Starworth, but they don't understand how corrupt these people. Prescott Bush, George Bush's grandfather, he was an avid Nazi supporter of Adolf Hitler. I mean, he got ties to Adolf Hitler's regime. I mean, people that know the kind of rotten stuff that these people do time and time again, and they use poor black and Latinos, even poor whites, and sacrifices for their millions so they can make contractors for bloodshed while they making deals with these so-called bad people. And I close with this, Bishop Royce. Even Saddam Hussein, it just tickles my hear these white conservatives talking about how bad Saddam Hussein is, but yet.
Oh, looks like we lost Brother Joe.
Yes.
And before we comment, let me just get in because we have one more person to get in real quick. Let's see if we can get Diane from South Philly. And Diane, you got like 2 minutes. How are you doing today? Thanks for
Diane
calling.
just dropped. Apologies.
Oh, okay, no problem. All right. Yeah, so anyway, I'm not sure, Brother Joe. I mean, some of the stuff I agree with. Some of the stuff I wasn't sure where he was going with it. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's just a mess. Afghanistan's just a mess.
Well, what I got from what he was saying is it's really an opportunity, again, another opportunity for poor white folks to understand that you have more in common with poor black folks than you do with rich white folks. So it just seems like another opportunity for poor whites to come alongside and say, you know, we lost lives in Afghanistan too. We lost. And I've seen them. They're on my news. They're on my, timeline on my Facebook. So it's, I know we all lost people. So while we're looking at, poverty, and we're looking at violence through the lens of poverty, we have more together. We have more in common together than we do apart. And especially in this part of the state, I think it's, it would behoove white folks to understand that their $7.25 an hour in Carlisle is the same 25 an hour in New Cumberland, and until they realize that their same green money will buy less and have less influence in a white supremacist world, then if nothing changes, nothing changes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, tomorrow we should talk about. And apologies to the callers that the phone got cut off. But, just tomorrow, because Ms. Stallworth will be back with us tomorrow morning, we need to talk about the fact that your area had the highest percentage growth in the state of Pennsylvania. And this from the last census.
I mean, shout out to Cumberland County. That was this big dark blue spot on the map. I'm very impressed with them.
The question is, who moved out there? That's what I want to know. Who moved out there?
So Carlisle is the county seat of Cumberland County, and I'm not proud of them a lot of the time, but when I am. But I even wonder, if we hadn't had the national leadership that we had at the time the census was taken, that we may have even seen more growth in that area. There's a tremendous blue wave in that area. Again, that's what prompted the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So, and they swung for Biden, that same area. So I'm still, super impressed by what they do. I don't have a problem critiquing them. So when they do something right, I'll tell them that too.
Well, we'll talk about that again tomorrow and go in more detail about what happened with the census in the state of Pennsylvania and what that implications are for us. All right, everybody, that's the Power Hour for this Monday. We appreciate each and every one of you coming here to check us out on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, on the air, through the app, through the internet, by whatever means, if it's a can and a string. We thank you for listening to us today here on the Power Hour. We appreciate you, Tawanda, for sitting in for Dr. Tyler today, Kwesa for doing everything you can to keep the program going and keep us alive and happening here on Facebook. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. to bring you the latest in news, happenings around Philadelphia, and, of course, our opinions. Stay tuned now for Wake Up with Word with Solomon Jones. And family, do us a favor. Go out, change the damn world, because if you don't, nobody else will. Peace.